So this session, we talk about my child's personality and his gifts. What do we have there? The personality of my child, and specifically the specific gifts and callings. I always thought, when I was young, that if we become equally mature in Christ, that we will all be the same, that we will all react the same. We will always be all on time, have everything nice and neat in place. You know, I'm always talking to myself as well, but I thought we would be the same in so many things, and that will never happen. We will not be the same. So when we talk about training children, we have to remember that they are different. They are not the same. So obviously it follows that we have to think about them as being different all the time. We have to keep that in mind all the time. And how do we, I mean, now it sounds, and I've heard many of you say until now that this is hard work, this is difficult. Remember I said we have 18 years. But just to show you, the first thing we say, we must accept people unconditionally. We must accept our children unconditionally. Remember we said that's from the womb into birth. That's the first thing, is that unconditional acceptance. Now I want to push this a little bit. I almost want to shock you into seeing how we say yes, 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 we understand, we are different, we know that. Why are you keeping on repeating the same things? We understand that. What if your child cannot read? What if your child cannot count? And I'm saying now, cannot do that. What will you do then? You still accept that child unconditionally. Because we have different skill sets. We are different. And we say, yes, we understand we are different, but when we don't have that skill set, or we are not so good at that skill set, then what? No. You can do better. You're just not working hard enough at this. Come on, you've got to work harder. You've got to do this. You can do this. You're a human being. Human beings can read. Okay? Says who? Do you know that by the, I think I read up, and I hope I have this, I didn't specifically look it up again, and I hope my memory helps me out here. But I think it was by the middle 1800s that the French children only had a 50, or the French as a nation only had about a 50% literacy rate. 50%. Do you understand when I'm saying that we expect things from our modern children that wasn't a given 100 or 200 years back? We simply expect it as a rule. And some of them will not be able to match up to your expectations because it's not part of their skill set. Do you understand when I'm saying that being able to do certain things is part of your skill set? I think we spoke a lot about the fact that we have the brain, we have 7 doors to our brain. We have 7 doors to our brain. So if you have a language ability, you can read, write, or talk, but it means it's to do with sounds, with putting them on paper or verbalizing them. You are in control of sounds, specifically words. That's a skill. It's a ability. It's a specific gift that you were given. And it's also a way in which your brain works. So now, unfortunately, for some of us who has that ability, we cannot stop talking. Because We have to keep verbalizing things for our brain to work. Some of you also have that ability. So now if the teacher says something or the parent says something, you have to keep asking questions and you have to keep talking about it, because as you talk, you understand. Your brain functions. Some children have the ability to put things in order. That's their brain, that's the door to their brain. Okay? So they are good at, take a guess? Sorry? Organized. Maths. If you can put things in order, you are good at maths. Does that mean that everyone has that ability? Well, it's one of 7 brain functions or doors to your brain. Just one of 7. So what if you don't have it? What if God decided you don't need it? You've got other abilities. Maybe you are in good control of your body. You have a gift to take control of your muscles, which means you will be good at athletics, sport. You will be good at that. It's a gift. Can all of us play golf on an international level? No, we can't. Why not? Even though we try and we spend a lot of hours maybe on the golf course. Will it happen? No, it's not going to happen. Maybe you can have an average game, but it's part of your skill set. You can use your body, but it's not your main thing in life. I mean, I trained my children and we played with the little bean bags. You know the bean bags in which you start teaching them how to throw and to catch and to throw and to catch. And there are some of my children, I am sad to say, they cannot catch a ball or catch anything. Don't throw anything at them. You are going to have a problem. It will fall on the floor because they cannot catch. And everyone knows it in the family. And we now and then have a laugh about it, and it's fine because it's not part of that child's skill set. So what? Very good at running, though. Very good at running, the same child. So it's still a bodily thing, but don't ask me why not. I don't understand. We were made in a specific way. So now, what then are we trying to do in the first place? We accept them unconditionally. That's the first thing. Unconditional acceptance, just the way they are. And I want to stress this with one further thing. We have friends, and that boy must be in his about almost 40 by now, about close to his 40s. And he was born with Down syndrome, quite severely. But that boy, that man by now, he's actually still alive, and he is doing so well. And he phones celebrities. His father's also a preacher. He's the first one in the congregation who gets up to pray. He's a prayer warrior. I tell you, you have not seen it. And he's an evangelist. So he will tell his father, I've seen that man on television. He's not living God's life. Give me his phone number. I want to phone him. His father has to find that man's details somewhere. He phones him. He's in South Africa. He phones that man. He tells him, listen, you're not living right. And he has the innocence of a child. He just says things the way they are. And he has we know what's expected and what's not expected and what's good. We know how we could talk to people. He doesn't have that. You know, he just says, you know what? God told me to phone you and I must tell you this. You are not living right. You are living in sin. You are saying the wrong things. Get right with God. We wouldn't do that. Are you not telling me that child or that man doesn't have a specific purpose? Maybe he does not have many of the skills we do have for a very specific purpose. Because if he had them, he would be like us. Too timid and far too afraid to say what he does. Does that make sense? I want you to really, really think about this. Because we put people in little boxes. You're not clever enough. You're not like this. You're not like that. Why can't you do this? Why can't you do that? And we judge ourselves first and others equally. Because we can't do a specific thing, and we think we've got to do it. We have to be able to do everything in life. And if we can't, then we feel condemned. We feel we are a failure. No, it's just not part of your skill set. It's not necessary. Remember who made you. Remember who formed you and wove you together. God did. No one else, God did. But then we also have perceptions in our society. And I know I've previously referred to this article, and I found it actually again, now I brought it with. There's an article that's written by Lady Marilyn Wedge. She has a PhD, very clever lady. She wrote Why French Kids Don't Have ADHD, that grand word that we've discovered. The specific statistic says that in the United States, at least 9% of school-aged children are not only diagnosed but also medicated for ADHD. Medicated. 9% of the children, school-going children in America, medicated for ADHD. You know how little the French have? 0.5%. 0.5%, 0.5%. Compare that to the 9%. So it means they practically say they don't have that. Are they just ignoring it? Are they just preferring not to see a specific problem? No, they don't have the problem. Why not? Is it like a disease that skipped the French? How's that possible? They live in the same modern society. We all have the same genes coming through. Most of the people in this world somewhere is family of somewhere else. Okay? They don't have the problem. Why not? Number one, they say we don't look at kids that way. Number one, we say if we see a specific problem in their behavior, we go back to see the way they are raised. The social background, sociological circumstances. We go back to that first. We check what's going on at home. What's going on in their schoolwork? What's going on in them? Is there a problem somewhere? Are they not coping with something? Okay? Does that make sense? We first go back and check. Does this child have a problem? Why are they acting out? Why are they running around wild? Why are they not able to concentrate on things? Now, we also have friends who also says that you have to be able to concentrate, but you can't concentrate if you have a problem in your emotions. If there's emotional turmoil in your life, you cannot concentrate. Does it make sense? Even we as grown-ups have that problem. Okay? Just be honest about it. So now they go back and they check what's wrong with the child. Number two, they say the food that we eat can influence a child. They say that they have things like additives, colorants, that's the other thing, all those things, allergens, preservatives, all those things influence them. And then they have an interesting thing. I hope I can read this because this is really very small here. But they have a definite structure to the children's growing up. Children are not allowed, for example, to snack whenever they want. Meal times are at 4 specific times of the day. This is how the French do it. It's culture among the French people. They have 4 specific times of the day. French children learn to wait patiently for meals rather than eating snacks, foods whenever they feel like it. French babies too are expected to conform to limits set by parents and not by their crying selves. French parents let their babies, in brackets, cry it out if they are not sleeping through the night at, guess what, the age of 4 months. I wasn't the only one being so harsh on my baby, shame. They love their children just as much as the other parents, spend perhaps even more effort in raising them and taking them to specific classes and giving them things in life, but they just don't let them do whatever they like. They are very strict on them, they are well disciplined, and they reap the benefit of that. They believe that learning of hearing the word no rescues children from the tyranny of their own desires. the tyranny of their own desires. Interesting. And spanking, when used judiciously, is not considered child abuse in France. And then they don't see something we see as a huge modern problem they don't even have, just by following the principles of the word and by living it out, even if they don't so much as believe in the word. They say there are set rules by which we live our lives, and we help our children, we train them, we put for order. And they actually say in this article that they believe that that makes the children feel safe, because they are safe and they're secure, and now they can focus on life and what life is about, because there are rules, they know what will happen, they have specific things. All right. And then when we come back to the personalities, first thing is that we are not trying to, in other words, to change them in any way. What we are doing is we are building character. So the most important thing when we think of our children is we want them to have a specific lifestyle. We disciple them to live the life of Christ, which obviously means that now they are building character. That's one of the most important things. Like Galatians, that talks about the fruit of the Spirit, of which if you can sum it up, means love. We teach them how to live within a sphere of love. Not so difficult. So they are men and women with character. But being said that, we are still different. And how are we different? I'm sure most of you have read the book of Hetty Brits on the different personality types, or know about it at least. She calls them trees. It's still the same thing. It's still the same personality types that we also work with. I just called them, just to simplistically, I've called them the following. You can call them whatever you like. I've now taken the pencil away. There's basically 4 personality types. Now, the thing with the personality types is, just remember that none of us is just one. We are a combination of all 4 of them. In all the years that we have assessed people and done their personality profiles, I have never seen someone being 0 in them. That you at least a little bit of something in every personality type. There's a little bit of it. But if it's just a little bit, it's difficult for you to understand people who are almost 100% in that same personality type. That's why we can say we are opposite sometimes of people. But there is something in us that is the same. So, number 1, we get what we could call, I was looking for different words that we could call them, some of the courses call them a driver. You can call them driver means that they always push forward, but you can call them like a natural leader. They are not the only leaders. That's why I hesitate to call it that. But you will see that some children has to take the front of the row. They have to be in front. They cannot follow behind. They must be in the front, and they will fight to be in the front of the row. If they cannot be in front, or they be the first to do something, they're no longer interested. They go off and they find another area where they can be the first or be in front. They want to discover new things. They are very inquisitive, and they always try something in a new way. Not only will they find something new to do, they will try to do it in a new way, not the old way. So now, if you now try, for example, to disciple this child and to teach them how to do something, just now keep in mind that this child will try to do the thing you are teaching them in a new way. So what will be your first thought when that happens? This child is very disobedient, rebellious. We can find a lot of synonyms. Naughty, when they are young. Okay? Do you understand the implications when we talk about personality types and the way we are discipling our children? But if this is the way this child was made, if I tell you that this is a way some people are made, the fabric of their being is like that, to challenge the norm, to find new ways, to find new inventions, to help us to go forward in society and not just do the same old thing we've always been doing. Does it make sense? It just makes it harder to train that child. And for you to see that it's not necessarily wrong of that child to ask questions or to try it in a new way. It's just they must not do it in rebellion. They must not do it with the wrong attitude. And us as parents, not even just these children, but them the most, because they will be the ones who try it, or if they have something of that personality in them, they will always try a new way. To allow them to do it in their way if they can get to the same end result. We know what we want done in the end. We want the bed made. Now, how they get the bed made, that's up to them. Okay? So some of them maybe, and it just came to me the example, I didn't think this beforehand, so I may get in trouble here, but some of them will get up on the bed when they are very small and pull it up from the bottom. Others will scurry around the bed and this side and that side and pull here and pull there. Others will try, but they'd be too small to maybe do it the way we do it. But do you see that it doesn't matter how they do it, just show me you can get the job done. So if you don't know how to do it, look at my way. But if you can find a better way, I just want to see the end result. So I have to be open and open-minded enough to allow this child to find new ways because he's adventurous. He wants to find new ways. This child will challenge you. He will do things in a different way. They love conflict. They will stir conflict. And because you are the closest person to this child, they will have it with you. And you will be the object of their confrontation. So if you say no, they will just consider it a yes. And they will go for it. So you have to get them as young as possible. If you see this happening in a child, you must get them as young as possible to be obedient to you. So that now, once you know they will listen to you, you can let them free and try things in their own way. But still under your leadership. Because there is a difference, do you see? You can allow them to do it in their own way if they are still obedient to you. Because your way is not necessarily the right way. It's not the only way. Go to a different country and see that they can actually drive on the other side of the road, and it works. It actually works. Who would have thought that? For us, it's terrible. Try that. When you've been trained to drive on one side of the road and suddenly now you must drive on the other side, it's like, you know, if there's no one on the road, see how fast you go back to that side. We took our family to Israel. We had our son sit between us, right between us, and that was his job. And believe me, he had a job keeping his father on the right side of the road, the right side for that country. And he said, Dad, you're going off again. And his dad had to come back to that side because he slipped back. It's quite something. But do you see how we think there's only one way? There's not only one way. So now if you are the person of one of the other personalities, we come back to that again. These kids will, they'll easily employ others if they'll think out a lot of new things, and they have no problem employing their brothers and sisters and even you to get their job done. They'll try and get you to do it as well. Just last night, I was lying in bed, the power went off, and we were without lights, and we each had a little light, and I was reading there with my little light because I couldn't do anything else. And the girls were in the other room, and I heard them shouting, "Mom!" And I'm like, yeah? I know that tone of voice. They want something. So like, how about some ice cream? Like, oh, that's a good idea. How about some ice cream? You make us some chocolate sauce. They were very, very, very high and mighty about it. So how are we going to make some chocolate sauce? I'm like, well, we do have a gas stove. So you can, it's no problem. And I thought, I was like, I'm like, no. They said, no, let's put something else over it, and that's over and done. But they tried to get me to make the chocolate sauce. So now you know how to work the gas thingy. You make the chocolate sauce. Of course, it was the girl who's the leader, the natural leader. She's like, well, Mom, then why don't you make it? Because now you know how to do this. And I'm like, no, you asked for the ice cream. I said yes, and now you make us the sauce. That's the deal. But these kids will always find a way to get you to do that for them. Okay, be careful, especially when they get older, they get better and better at this. The impossible is just a challenge to them. In their vocabulary is no such thing as the impossible. Competition, they need competition, always measuring themselves against everyone and everything. Now, of course, now you see yourself in this as well if you're that kind of personality. I'm going to go very quickly over this. They want strong leadership. These children will defy you and they will challenge you, but they want you to take strong leadership. If you don't, they will not respect you. So I'm telling you, if you really have one of these children, this is hard. They make it hard for you. You will cry tears because you have to be so strong. You have to, if you're not that kind of personality, you will have to really just get it from somewhere and work yourself up in your authority and just tell them, no, this is no. Because they always think they know, they'll challenge you. You are the challenge. You said no, so they will try it. And to get them to be obedient, but then still try things in a new way. There's quite a fine line with that. Teach them not to be bossy with other children. Not to be moody. They can become rather moody, angry. They're very determined, very, very determined. If they start throwing tantrums, these kids, they don't get what they want. They can throw tantrums. They are very impulsive. They make very quick decisions. But when they become more mature, they will be very responsible, and they will. You can put responsibility on them. You can because they take that challenge and they will rise to it. Okay, but they are not impressed if you are not strict with them. They're not impressed by you, and they will just run over you, and it will be a nightmare, I promise you. It's not easy. But then again, I also want to say to people, be careful of this whole thing of, James Dobson made all these categories, starting from very compliant to very strong-willed. But because, now remember, I gave that example for a reason. Remember what we said about the American and the French with ADHD. It was the discipline that made the difference. In children, almost uncontrollable with ADHD. We have to medicate them to control them, but it was just discipline. Now, any child, and I'm venturing out here, but I'm telling you that any child that's not disciplined will look like a strong-willed child. Give me a 2-3-year-old that has not been disciplined, and they will all look the same. Maybe this one will look a degree worse, but they will all have the same characteristics. So you might tell yourself, no, I have this very strong-willed child. And I'm looking at the child and I'm saying, no, if you have a good spanking, you will not be so bad. See? So don't just want, because all 4 of these personality types, and if I can write up the next one, all 4 of these personality types are leaders. They're all leaders. They're just different leaders. So don't be so quick to say, I've got a strong, it's almost like we're bragging about it. I don't know why, it's got to be a strong-willed child. Then somehow we've reached the ultimate. I don't know what it is about us. I don't understand this thing, but anyway. The next one is it's a very social child. So if I say leader, I'm not saying that everyone, that's why I hesitate to use that word, but I can't find a better one to just plain describe the way they react as children. Okay, the very social child is, they're the talkers, they're the attention seekers. They're the ones who constantly have concerts. They just organize concerts, and they must have a stage. They'll have friends over. They want to go to friends. They'll be 2-3 years old and they'll convince you to let them have a sleepover with friends. They're not shy. They're not scared to go anywhere. They have far too much, courage. They just go for things, and they just believe. They're very, very optimistic. Everything is just bright and possible, and they just take life head on. It's not like they even think the driver, the leader, or the driver. Let me just write it there. The drivers. They're more determined. But this child is really just that social not freak, but they just love people. They can't get enough. Don't put them in a corner. They hate being in a corner. You can punish these children by sending them to sit alone. That's punishment for them. That's the worst thing you can do, is to isolate them from the group and from all the fun that's going on. They are very, very scared of that. They don't easily make enemies. They're very popular because they love people. They come over good. They just try to please everyone, try to be very nice to everyone. They have many friends. They can convince you with a smile, with a joke. They will have you laughing, and you just feel like you can't say no. You don't have you are just so laughing at them that it's just so difficult to say no. They can be very manipulative with the way they act. So you must be very strict on saying no, but understanding who they are, understanding that they are this over-the-top kind of child, but you have to say no when you have to say no. Because if you say no to this child, they are very emotional. They'll start crying, and then you can't get them to stop. It's a very manipulative thing that they quickly learn. But once with this kind of child, what works is if you discipline them, and you even if you have to spank them, don't shut them up in a room, but take them to their room and say, when you've stopped crying, come and play with us. So you put the responsibility to control their emotions in their hands. Come to us when you've stopped crying. Then they will quickly decide they don't want to be alone, so they stop crying and they come back. But then they control their own emotions, which helps incredibly because, as I say, they are very emotional, and they can really drain you with that emotions. And they can keep on crying and crying and crying because they now really want to make the point that they are very sad about this, and it's over, it's finished. Tell them to control themselves, something they have to control the emotions. But mostly they are sunny children. Mostly they just laugh about life and about everything. Very much the show of, and of course when they get hurt, they will make a show of it. So it's it's just a little scratch, and they will cry and go on as if they are dying. Very, very emotional and over the top children. Then you get the peaceful or the stable children. This child, if you just say no or just frown at them, they will already feel bad and start crying. Not because they try to manipulate you not to have the punishment, as the social child will do. They and make a big scene so that you feel too bad to spank them, but because they genuinely have regret that they did wrong. They really not just want to please you. These children really want to do the right thing. Very big thing on integrity. They will not tell a lie. They very, it looks a bit bad. That's a mistake there. They are very sensitive children. They will cry when other children are punished. They're very sensitive. They cry as easily as the social children, but it's not a self-centered thing. It's more, you can see even from a young age, they really care a lot about other people. They will mostly cry about other people. They can cry about themselves as well, very sensitive and meek, but you will see there's a difference. The very social children will mostly just cry about their own needs and their own thing, although these two personalities are often interwoven as well. They're very easy to discipline. These children, you must be very careful to treat them the same as other children because you don't have to be so harsh on them. In fact, you can't be as harsh on them. So now, I remember once our very strong-willed child came running to me in tears. And she said to me, I said, what's wrong? What's wrong? Because she was now I could see she was very upset. And she said her sister, who is very compliant, and believe me, these two are really the opposites on the line. The one very compliant and the one very, very strong-willed. And she said, she hit me. And I burst out laughing. I was like, she was very upset with me. I'm like, now, get myself together, take my smile off, and I said, so what happened? What did you do to make her hit you? Because that child had never harmed anyone before. Never, ever. But I knew that she must have been very frustrated by now with this sister of hers that is so very almost controlling over her, and she's younger. So I almost congratulated her with finally putting her sister in her place. But I couldn't do that, so now I had to go and punish her. But when I got to her, she was already crying, like her world has fallen apart, because now she did the wrong thing. She hit her sister. And I was like, now I have to punish her. So I had to take them apart in different rooms and give the one just like a light little spank, because already her heart was breaking. And I had to sit down and say, you have to defend yourself, but maybe not by hitting your sister. So I have to spank you now. But it wasn't the same. The other one, I said, see, you went so far. You teased her so far that she had to go to such an extreme to get you to stop. So I'm going to spank you as well. And I did give her quite a harder one. But I had to take them apart so that she could not see what I did to the other sister. You can see how disciplining these two children would be quite different. Okay, so you have to be very careful in how you treat them and how you make them understand that they are not the same. If finally they discover that you're not treating them the same, you have to be able to explain it and to show them that there is a difference and that you actually treated them the same, even though it doesn't look the same. Do you get what I'm saying? So try, especially if you have to discipline them, take them apart maybe, or explain, or pretend that it's the same, but maybe not spank so hard with the one as with the other, because you especially in the case of these two, most other children I found were I could stay equal, but these two were like day and night apart. I really had to be clever to not show that I was, because I wasn't biased. I was training each of them equally, but they are so different that you couldn't do the same thing to both of them. Okay. Very, very soft hearts. They're more passive children, these as well. They're so gentle, but they are hard to get moving. With these children, when they are very young, they are so good to discipline. They just do what you want because they are so scared of not pleasing you that they just do the right thing. You never, especially if they are very compliant and they fall into this peaceful, stable, they don't want to do anything to upset the relationship. So they just do what you say. But then when they get older, you realize they don't stand up and take responsibility. They can be very passive and just, tomorrow is another day and we'll do this another day. And I'm not old enough. I'm quite happy to be fed until I'm 3, 4, 5 years old. I don't have to eat by myself if someone is feeding me. Whereas the strong-willed child or that leader or driver will between 8 and 10 months, they'll literally stop eating because you try to feed them and they don't want to be fed anymore. The peaceful or stable child will be happily fed until they are 3, 4 years old. So you have to make a bit of fire under them. You have to give them a little push and sometimes discipline them because they are not taking responsibility for themselves and for other people. And say, I expect you to now dress yourself. Here is the clothes. I will be back in 10 minutes' time. Be dressed. And then you apply some discipline because they are much more passive and happy to be passive. It's just part of their peaceful nature. When they grow older, they will be the responsible helpers. They will always try to help and always try to be there, whereas the drivers or the leaders will be gone somewhere off. They will also work hard, but these stable, peaceful children will be there, and at their pace, they will help you with whatever you need to do. They will really help you. But to get them going when they are very young could be quite a challenge sometimes. They can easily be bullied. Look out for them, try and protect them, but also teach them to stand up for themselves. Even if they don't hit back, because we can't hit back when we are grown-ups. We don't do that in society. It's not acceptable. So they have to stand up in themselves, and even if they seek protection, because that's why we have the law. Even as grown-ups, we can go to the law and say, I'm being hurt, help me. I'm being treated wrongfully, help me. So they come to you as parents and they can be helped. Guys, but they must stand up for themselves, even if it is just the action of going for help. they must stand up and not be treated wrongfully and be quiet about it. Can easily sulk, can easily withdraw into themselves, which is even worse for the last child, the perfectionist, or the ordered child. Maybe not so right to say perfectionist, but I still feel that it works. Perfectionist or the ordered child. I'm not so didn't have the English notes in front of me if I used the same ones actually. But the perfectionist or the ordered child is, this child is more in their own world. They have very specific, they're very focused on their little thing. They're not social. They can easily play for days and weeks on end just on themselves in their little corner with their book or with their whatever they have. That's the thing that you have to help them with, is to be more social, to have at least go out and play with their friends, to be able to share. For this child, it's not that they are selfish, because they are so ordered and so perfect. If kids play roughly and things are broken, for them it's the end of their world, because this is my toy, I have to be responsible with it, and now children are being rough with it. So they rather not share it, that's their solution, rather not share it than have it broken. And now there's none of it left. So they can appear very selfish, make room for it. Give them toys that they must share with others, and then their specific special toys that can be put away when friends come and play over. Make room for it in a cupboard high enough up that it's not shared, and explain to them, I know how you feel about your toys. Those toys you can keep for yourself, but these toys we play with. If they get broken, it's fine, we'll replace it. It's all right. You have to teach them that there's that room for playing with other children, because they are so ordered in themselves. If things like that happen, it's almost like they cannot handle it. They don't know how to handle this. Their rooms are neat. They're neat on themselves, very precise. Their schoolwork always thinks everything precise, will not lie to you. Very black and white children, definitely not do anything wrong, but they can be very strong-willed in the sense of being, what's the English word? Koppig? Stubborn. They can become very stubborn. If they think they are right and you are not right, they will appear like this, the leader or the driver. They may appear the same. They can be equally strong because they are right, because they're very strong on what's right and what's wrong. Same as us. Can be very moody, can be very frustrated if they can't get things right, because they, especially when they don't get things right, they can be very frustrated and almost throw a tantrum because they can't get this right. And they expect so much of themselves, even when they are little, that you have to sit and explain to them, you've done well. I'm pleased with what you've done. And they will still maybe not be pleased because they don't feel they're pleased with themselves. But you must explain to them that at your age, you have done more than anyone else would have been able to do. So to get them to that place where they accept themselves as enough, it's good enough. Very difficult for them to do that. They always want to do better and to do it perfect. And of course, a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 5-year-old can't do certain things perfect. And even a high school kid can't do it perfect the way it's supposed to be in real life, but they know somehow what it must be like, and they push themselves. So for them to really just relax and to accept that it's good enough. For today, it's good enough. Tomorrow, we'll try again. But for today, this is great. Be very, very consistent with praising them in their efforts, so that they don't get that thing, because they already have that inborn thing with it's not perfect and I want it perfect. They can really kind of have a thing of maybe their hands must be clean. They learn about germs and then they go over the top. It's like once they've touched someone, they will go wash their hands. They can drive the family crazy. Don't eat from my plate. Don't touch their food or they will not touch it. It's like they can really become very, have a bit of a thing there about certain things. So try and try and get them not to be like that, but it's not always so easy. Okay, they are not adventurous, very careful children, a bit scared of going out of the norm. But then again, remember that we all have different personalities combined. Try and stir some of the other personality types that's underlying so that they overcome that fear and they become a little bit more bold and break out of that mold, because they easily hedge themselves into that little world of rules and black and white, and to get out of that. Not always so easy, but this is what we're working on, and we see how these children, especially this last child, finds it very hard to verbalize their emotions. So they really can sulk, and they can really build up things about other people or about you, that they remember all the wrongs against them, and they sit and sulk for years and years, and it builds up into almost like depression or whatever when they're older. So try and get them to verbalize their emotions. If they feel they've been wronged, then just tell me. What is wrong? How did you experience that? How did you feel about that? Doesn't mean that child is right. It's how they felt about it, how they experienced it. All right? And then maybe later you can explain to them how you saw it and that you didn't mean it in that way. Even though they experienced it like that, you did not mean for it to come over that way. That is what you wanted to happen. And now they felt they were being rejected or whatever. So try and explain to them. But very important to get them to open up, to start talking. If they close up, they close up. And it will be years before you will, if ever, get them to open up. Very difficult. Right, so is there maybe any questions? I think we've run out of time, unfortunately. There's so much that we can still say about this. I don't know, who of you know the love languages? The 5 love languages? Everyone, you know about them? Do you all know about them? You can see, no, yes, there. Okay. The love languages is in the notes, but the love languages is something also that we can, that works, especially with children, how to get to their hearts, how to make it easy to connect with them. And it really makes a difference that some children, there are 5 love languages, it's all part of love. If we can just explain it in 1 or 2 minutes, it's really, we all experience love in a different way. Some people say it. They say, I love you. And they need you to say it, I love you, to mean it. Other kids say, yeah, I know you love me. It's whatever, you love me. But for them, it means something if you do something for them. Not all kids appreciate it if you make food for them. Others can't thank you enough. Oh, Mommy, you made my bed. I forgot this morning. I didn't have time. You made my bed. You know, you are my hero. I so love you. You know, it's because you did something for them. And it's all part of love. Some kids, when you spend time with them, this child, you can't just make it quick. You've got to do something with them, play with them, spend time with them, read a book. They want that continually. Otherwise, they don't feel loved. Other kids want a gift. And don't think that gifts is just manipulation. All little kids need gifts. But the one who will take the gift, and really you will see the way that child cherishes that gift, almost too scared to play with it. Put it up there, showing everyone, oh, look at that, look at what my parents gave me. And years later, they will still have that little thing. For them, it's not about the size of the gift or how expensive it is. It's that you thought of them, that you gave them something. Now, the same also goes for grown-ups. So we had and the last one is physical touch. Can you see how all of these are part of love, part of what we see as giving love and showing love and accepting love? Physical touch. Some kids, you just have to keep touching them, hugging them, kissing them. They will come to you. They will sit on your lap. Others will just run off. They just, on their own. They don't need that. They need you to maybe say it to you or do something for them. But some kids will just come and be there with you all the time. They want to touch you, to have that physical expression of love. And the most important thing is, if you want to know what your child's love language is, ask them. 2, 3-year-olds, when they can talk, you ask them, how do you know Mommy love you? They will say, you give me nice things. Gifts. You say you love me. Words of affirmation. But just remember, with the words of affirmation, it's also not just saying I love you. It's affirming them as a person. Not just what they do, the nice things they do, the accomplishments they have, but you as a person. I appreciate you because you are so caring of other people. I appreciate you because you are really a good helper. You really reach out and help. You see the needs of others. Can you see how it's affirming their identity? Not just saying something just to make them feel nice, but it's just tickling the ears. It's not really meaningful. So all of these, it really helps a lot to see how different people can, especially the kids, they open up when you use their love language. You can do your love language, you can give to them all the time, but if it's not theirs, they will not feel that you love them. Even though you've given everything you have, and you feel you've done your job, you've given them whatever they wanted, and it's not their love language, they don't feel loved. Good, so and there are so many other things in which we are different. We can look at so many other models of how people differ from each other. And I think we can learn a bit from each of them in seeing how we must treat our kids different and focus on them and seeing their needs and seeing how they want us to say things and see things in their lives. But if we are there and we listen and we just watch them, for me, it's amazing how people differ, how we are not the same. I think it's amazing. I don't want them to be the same. It would be so boring if they were all the same. But does it make it easy? No, it doesn't make it easy because you really have to watch out for each and everything every day and see how they go through phases and through growing into maturity in their own personality and their own way they see things. But it's good, it's fun. It's so amazing when you see they've actually accomplished the next step and reached that next thing and matured in a specific thing. The same with us.